tell me, what's your takeaway from this earnings release? What does it tell you about the macroeconomic conditions and the level of demand for Hong Kong?
We fundamentally saw the demand for electricity reasonably stable despite COVID and despite the downturn in the global economy. I think what that is saying is that demand for electricity just continues to be stable, but we did see a significant shift in the mix amongst our customer base. Hong Kong has relatively little manufacturing, so generally it's well insulated from economic ups and downs, but we did see a huge shift from the commercial sector to the residential sector, and also quite a big uptake for data center usage as well.
We are also, of course, curious about the status of the LNG terminal in Hong Kong. Do you have any kind of new expectations or deadlines for that? And how does that potentially change the way that Hong Kong residents and people living in Hong Kong get their energy mix?
We are seeing a significant shift from coal to natural gas, and building an offshore LNG terminal is part of a major infrastructure program that we have. We've already built a new gas-fired generating unit. A second one is under construction, and we're making good progress on our LNG terminal. These are all projects which need to go ahead, and despite the challenges that we faced in 2020 with COVID, which disrupted supply chains, it made it difficult to bring specialists into Hong Kong, we've managed to keep all of those projects on track. And I think that is an important task for us. Climate change is not going away, and we just have to keep progressing and keep moving on the transition to zero carbon energy.
So how did you do on your 2020 targets for renewable generation and capacity? Because I know you entered the year pretty behind. How did you do? And how high does it rank that you get there?
It's very important that we get there. And we set ourselves a carbon intensity target to get down to 0.6 kilograms per kilowatt hour of electricity. We managed to achieve that target. Our 2020 carbon intensity was 0.57. So we've made very good progress and continuing to make progress. And a big reason for that was the shift in 2020 to using 50% natural gas in our energy mix in Hong Kong. So these big investments that we're making in gas-fired generation and LNG terminals are contributing to lower carbon emissions.
So what are your longer-term goals when it comes to emissions in Hong Kong?
The chief executive recently announced towards the end of last year an ambition for Hong Kong to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. So this is the sort of target and the sort of clarity that we actually welcome. It gives us now something to plan towards and to work in an aligned way with government and regulators. So our ambition has to be zero carbon. And it has to be by 2050, because that brings us in line with the Paris Agreement. So the task now is to go a next step. We are looking at more opportunities for renewable energy in Hong Kong. We're at the early stages of exploring an offshore wind farm in Hong Kong. This was a project that we started about 10 years ago, but we found that the technology wasn't mature enough. But technology has advanced and costs have come down, so we think this is a viable and feasible technology for Hong Kong.
There's been lots of accusations as we watch the way that the crisis, the energy crisis, the weather crisis in Texas has played out. There's been blame on really all fronts being kind of cast. What are the lessons learned? Is there something that, grid reliability needs to change going forward to ensure this kind of crisis doesn't happen again?
The climate is changing. And if you work in an essential industry such as electricity production, then you have to recognize that and you have to plan for that. And this is something that goes well beyond any particular company or any regulator. It requires coordinated planning. And this is where all parties need to work together. There has to be an acceptance, there has to be a good understanding of the risk. And risks now are things that are unpredictable. No one would have dreamt that the temperatures in Texas would have got as low as that. But this is what's happening around the world. So it does require good coordination and good planning to build resilience into the electricity systems.
Globally, how much could nuclear power help, especially as we see this move towards clean energy?
Well, we have been a long-standing investor in nuclear power, and nuclear power provides about a quarter of Hong Kong's electricity. It is carbon-free, it is very economic, very stable and very reliable. So it's been an important cornerstone of Hong Kong's carbon-free energy mix. Nuclear power is something which does require scale, and it does require a long-term commitment. So it may not be suited to every part of the world, but where we're located, as part of China, we do have the advantages of taking part in China's push towards more nuclear power. So it has played a very important part of our carbon-free energy transition.